I remember the last real sunrise. It bled across the fjord like fire. That morning, we drank from frozen horns and praised the gods for warmth. That was 5:36. And then, the sky turned to ash. The sun didn't set. It vanished, like it had been hunted. We thought it was a curse, but it was something worse. A volcano on the other side of the world, one we'd never even named, had split the heavens open. Smoke thick as war banners spread across the globe. Our crops died, our animals starved. Even the warriors started breaking. One by one, the Jarls stopped feasting. They started whispering about a soul caller. That's what they called me. Not because I was wise, but because I was still breathing. In a time when breathing meant you had to kill for it. For 2 years, we hunted light. We lit funeral pyres just to pretend the sun still lived. But deep down, every Viking knew it. This was not Fimbulwinter. That would have been a gift. This was something older, something godless, and it broke us. What I'll show you now is not myth. It is the truth before it was buried. We lost the sun, and then we lost each other. You think the cold was the worst part? No. The worst part was watching warriors, men who once screamed for Odin, crawl in the dirt like dogs, fighting over bark. The herds were gone. The rivers froze over, the soil turned black, then quiet. Our people had no gods to pray to, just frostbite and hollow bellies. That's when the hunger war began. Villages raided each other not for gold, not for land, but for meat that still had blood in it. I saw 2 clans burn their longships just to cook a deer. I saw men kill their brothers to save their children. And I saw Jarl Eric of Skarnford, a man who once fed 300, eat the bones of his own kin, not out of madness, but out of command. The elders called it Skilskem, the shield shame, a war that leaves no stories behind. But I remember, I was there when the fjords ran red, and not a soul had the strength to scream. They told us to pray harder, to shout louder, to bleed in Odin's name. But no matter how many goats we slit open, no voice ever answered back. The sky stayed black, the snow kept falling, the dead piled higher. We tried it all. Runes, sacrifice, blood eagle offerings on ice-carved altars. We even burned our sacred trees, the last yew standing, just to see if flame could draw the gods home. But it was like praying into a corpse's mouth. One night they made me sit with a dead child. Said if I whispered to him long enough, the gods would speak back through his soul. I sat in silence for 8 hours. And then I lied. I told them I heard something. Told them Odin said we must march north into the deeper cold. They believed me. Not because I was wise, but because they were too broken to hear silence again. That's how I became the soul caller. Not because the gods spoke to me, but because they didn't, and someone had to speak in their place. So I spoke. I told them the gods waited north, past the last ice, beyond the caves of wind. That's where they'd find food, warmth, purpose. It was a lie, but lies were softer than starvation. So we marched. 87 men, women, and children, wrapped in fur, dragging sleds of bone and wood, chasing ghosts through frost. It wasn't a journey. It was a funeral that hadn't admitted itself yet. The snow got thicker, the silence got heavier. Even the wind seemed to whisper nonsense, like it was mocking our prayers. We saw things, or maybe we just needed to. A child said he saw Freya walking beside us, barefoot in the snow. A dying man claimed Thor had taken his heart in his sleep. I never corrected them. Belief was the last blanket we had, but I could feel the doubt setting in. The stares, the whispers. They began asking why the gods hadn't spoken again, why the soul caller hadn't heard anything new. That's when I knew. If I didn't give them blood, they'd take mine. I had to choose who would die before they chose me. The snow swallowed our tracks by morning. No one would ever know where we had gone. That's when I made my choice. Halvard. Strong arms, but a louder mouth. He'd been questioning me for days, asking why Odin only spoke to me, asking why my visions always came when no one else was listening. Doubt spreads faster than hunger, and in this cold, it kills quicker. That night, I told the others the gods demanded a gift, a life to warm the sun. They didn't argue. We bound him in rope, dragged him to the ice edge. He didn't beg, didn't curse, just stared at me like he already knew this was the only way I'd keep breathing. I drove the blade in myself. His blood hissed when it hit the ice. The tribe feasted on the meat before it froze. I told them it would keep us alive until the gods opened the sky again. But the truth? I just needed one more day of silence. One more day without someone asking the wrong question. After Halvard, no one questioned me again. Not because they trusted me, but because they feared the fire more than the frost. Every word I spoke became law. If I said the gods wanted us to stop, we stopped. If I said we marched, we marched. And when I told them to kneel, they did. It started small, heads lowered during the morning fire. Then they began carving runes for me. Not Odin, not Thor. My name. I didn't stop them. Power is warmer than fur in a winter like that. Soon they came to me with offerings, scraps of meat, bits of bone, the last of their mead. They asked for my blessing before eating, before sleeping, before killing. And I gave it. With a voice I didn't recognize anymore. I had become the only god they could still touch. But in the cold, even gods die. And I could feel it. The hunger still creeping, the eyes still watching. If they could worship me today, they could burn me tomorrow. The blizzard came at night, the kind that swallows sound, where even the fire seems to burn without a crack. I could feel it before I saw it, the way they stared at me through the smoke. No one spoke, not until Bjorn stepped forward. "The gods are hungry," he said, "and you are the fattest meal left." The others didn't laugh. They rose to their feet one by one, slow, deliberate, as if pulled by the same string. I counted 12 with blades. The rest just watched, waiting to see how a god dies. My axe was in my hand before the first man moved. The snow muffled everything except the sound of bone breaking. They came fast, but hunger makes you clumsy. I put 2 in the snow before they touched me. Bjorn was the third. His jaw shattered before his blade hit the ground. By the time it was over, the blizzard had covered their bodies. And the rest? They went back to kneeling. Because if the gods hadn't wanted me alive, I wouldn't be standing. The next morning, the storm was gone. So were half the tribe. No tracks, no blood, just empty places in the snow where bodies had slept. Maybe they walked into the white. Maybe they followed a god I couldn't see. The rest stayed with me, but they were only shadows of men, bones inside rags. I told them spring would come. I told them the sky would open. I lied. Because the truth was, I hadn't seen the sun in so long, I wasn't sure it was still there. Days blurred into nights. The fire shrank lower and lower. The meat ran out. And one by one, they stopped waking. By the end, I was the only one left. I sat by the last fire, a few glowing coals in the wind, listening to the snow close in. No screams, no drums, no voices. Just the sound of the ice settling, like the world was erasing itself. People will tell you the gods abandoned us. They'll say the winter took us. But I was there. And the truth is, we fed the winter ourselves.